hero show here. Now then, jumping straight into it. After Recovery Girl left off, where we last left off, Recovery Girl had done a bit of test on Deku and told him that that was fine. Now, Deku, him and Toga, they would have actually gone back into Aldrin City. Now, they're back at the garage, and everyone in Class 1A would actually know where this is at now. And someone would comment on how it's pretty weird how there's no one on this block. Deku would say, yeah, usually the gangs around here, they leave him alone. Because not only do some of them know how strong he is and not want to mess with him, but they actually respect me, or I just give them ammunitions and trade with them for car parts. This is whenever people would ask, trades car parts? He would go on explaining that, essentially, he has such a good understanding with the gangs that they all put gang logos around his territory. So he owns the entire block in the city. Which would actually fascinate some people, because this is essentially his own private hideout. That everyone's intimidated by every single gang's logo being there. That either something really valuable or really dangerous is in that area. Because, let's say not only were there gang logos, but they were protective signs, like radiation and monster warnings. Which would kind of fit with Midoriya, being the monster in a cage. Because not only is this entire area walled off, it's been graffitied, it's been completely tattered and marked by every single gang sign that there is from the gangs, along with warnings and labels saying not to go in there. And anyone who does go in there may not come out. And if every single person in the city knows where Midoriya is, they either don't want to mess with him or don't want to find him. Now, Deku is actually working on his car because they just got back from the latest death race. And he would have brought his bike to the garage to actually see about it and work on a few different things. Even checking on the engine, because it took a while to get it back to... It took a minute to get it back into the city because it had to get it registered and a lot of things under his name. So, this is whenever Deku would tell Toga that they need to... the car is fine, it's just that the engine needs to be fixed up a bit more. So, Deku's working on that, and then everyone would get a call on their phone. Everyone's getting calls saying, are they nearby a TV? Where are they? All that. And Deku would just say that there's a TV upstairs and they need to go. They would go upstairs and turn on the TV, and they would pull Deku away from his car. He would walk upstairs and see that All Might's facing off against All for One. Or the villains are raiding the hideout. That the villains are actually being... Essentially, heroes are going into Aldrin to fight against the villains. Because that's where they found the villains' hideout. It's actually in Aldrin. It's on another abandoned, or... It's on a block that's really busy with gang activity, but people don't really want to go there. So the heroes and everyone, they would have all been cleared out. And Deku, he would see this, and he would see All Might actually tackle and actually fighting against All for One. So he'd immediately just grab his keys and go. Now, he would hop in his car, and he's thinking that he needs to find a way to get there faster as he's driving. He'd smash through a barricade and actually just haul as much ass as possible. Now, he remembers hearing something back at the Island, which I briefly mentioned. Deku's thinking about how All Might talked about how the mechanics or the equipment that essentially is synthetic tissue, if it was put into his body, One for All would react negatively to it or make it blow up. Deku's thinking to himself, if One For All can react negatively or positively to different things, he might be able to overclock his car with One For All actually using it to get there faster. Because All Might was already put into his weakened form last time I saw him. So he started charging up One For All, and he would immediately put his hand onto his gear shifter and just hold it there, charging as much One For All into his hand as possible. After doing this, Deku's car, his lights would start shining brighter, everything in his dash lights up, and his car is going at about 200 miles an hour. Now, everyone's confused as essentially the news chopper, they could hear his car, and they're just trying to figure out where that's coming from. As that's happening, they're all just seeing like a bright light just zooming past every single person there. Toga's thinking that that can't be him, can it? As she'd run downstairs and see that his car is gone. She would then call him an idiot as she would grab his bike and go. Now, because of this, Deku would come onto the battlefield as All For One's about to kill All Might with that final punch, and as he's flying through the air, Deku's car would just come smashing straight into All For One, and he would jump out of it. As he would then run over to All Might saying that, you know, if you were going to go up against someone like this, you should have told me. I could have helped you. He's saying that, well, it's too late now because everyone already knows. As Deku would then say that they might know, but it could have been preventable. Now, All For One would then smash the front of Deku's bumper, like right here, along with the lights and part of the engine in, to actually move the car. He would then say this. He would then say, "Child, you do not know what you are doing. And the fact that you just threw a car at me pisses me off even more." Deku would look at All For One, and he would say that, apparently, you don't know what you're doing. This entire city's evacuated. Why are you even here? Then Deku would immediately start charging at All For One, and he would actually use Black Whip to try and fight him. All For One would immediately meet him with his, well, that fingertip thing he can do, and they're essentially having a clash as Deku would keep trying to fight All For One, and All For One would eventually be able to punch Deku around enough to actually knock him into his rage state, which means that he's just been fighting long enough to build up a combo meter. Now, after Deku's been jumping around and fighting him, he would immediately just smash All For One in the face with 100% smash, as it would send him flying, and Deku would be able to briefly get All For Might to safety. Toga would arrive and actually tell Deku that they need to get him out of here while that villain is distracted. All For One would then try grabbing Toga with his tendrils, saying that it's a good thing that he brought her straight to him. Now he can just take her quirk and kill All Might. Toga would then tell All For One that that's not going to happen, as she would turn her body into the sludge and actually go through All For One's tendrils and immediately just reform herself. Because her body is basically made of clay, if I'm correct. Because that's how her quirk works that I've seen. Now, after doing this, Deku would immediately run it All For One, as his eyes would begin to glow, and he'd actually throw 130% smash, which would actually take off All For One's mask, surprising him. As Deku and All For One are fighting, and he's essentially overclocking his body, which I want to say is probably possible. Now, Deku's fighting All For One, and All For One is actually losing because he actually lost to All Might 100%. So they're fighting over and over again, All for One would be able to stab Deku in the arm, in the leg. He just keeps stabbing him. Deku just keeps stabbing him back, and he just keeps punching him harder and harder again. All for One is then surprised as Deku's essentially not only stronger than All Might, he's at least twice as strong. Because One for All did get stronger within Deku already, but now he's actually using it at a bigger percent. Deku's fighting him and he's screaming at him, and the news chopper's watching this. And a lot of the gangs that have gathered nearby, they aren't fighting each other anymore. They're just watching, actually cheering him on, calling him the Vigilante, 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 or just the Rider, as they would have seen his car just sitting there, nearly destroyed or just very damaged. Togo would have told All Might to get out of here as they would begin fighting. He wouldn't know what to do with the motorcycle, but Togo would just say that he just needs to drive it as far away as possible, which he would try and do. But Toga, she would have told All Might that she might as well get him out of here since he can't even apparently drive it. And I just want to say, All Might's probably never rode a motorcycle since he can just jump around the city. I don't think he even has a license, actually. Probably an ID, but not a license. Or a driver's license. Anyways. Ugh. Okay. After Deku and All for One are fighting, Deku would have been able to actually rip one of All for One's arm off and start beating the shit out of him with it. Which a lot of gangs would actually be just cheering on as they would just start shouting, 2 men enter, 1 man leave. And Deku would just keep fighting All for One to the point where Aizawa would arrive onto the scene and turn off All for One's regeneration quirk, as Deku would just start breaking his legs and every bone he can in his body. And All for One would be arrested, as Deku would start calming himself down. Now, if that fight was a bit little anticlimactic, I have not been able to think a lot today. Think a lot today. So I am sorry, but I am also trying to rush myself a bit, because I want to get this out before I hit 400, because I am 3 subscribers away. And I'm actually thinking a lot about the Judge Dredd what if, and how I need to storyboard it. Because I got a little bit of the world building in my head planned out, and the rest I can figure out as I start recording. Now then. After that would happen, Toga would come back to the battle, cheer Deku on as people will just keep cheering his name, or just keep cheering his title. Now, Deku would actually call himself, well, I wouldn't say the writer, but Mad Midoriya? No. I don't really know a good Mad Max title for Deku. I can figure that out. Let me figure this out real quick, everyone. Okay. I think I may have figured it out. I had to pause for about 2 to 3 minutes, and I kept thinking, and I'm going to say he'd call himself like the Beast or Rage or something like the Monster in the Shadows, or like the Boogeyman, but I already used the Boogeyman. I'm gonna have to figure that out before I restart this series again. Okay, but now that I have that figured out, Deku, he would then be... Let's cut to the next week later, where it's the Mirio fight. Deku and them are talking as Mirio would walk into class 1A, saying that he's really impressed to see Deku again because he saw how that whole fight went back in the city. And he's even asking more and more questions about Toga's quirk because it seems to be very weird. She can copy quirks, but not certain things other people do, or certain things people can do with their quirks, but like she can't copy mutations. That's what she would say. As they would then begin to actually just start fighting. They would have gone outside, and Deku and Mirio would have squared off against each other. Deku not actually being able to see where Mirio is, or seeing where Mirio is underground, or hear his heartbeat, anything like that, he would just have to rely on his quirk. So anytime Mirio pops out of the ground, he would just have to move to the left or to the right, shifting his body with one for all. Toga would have copied Deku's Black Whip and reaction speed. Along with probably, I want to say Todoroki's quirk, so that this will work. Yeah, this should work. She's copying 4 quirks at once, essentially. And she'd be firing Black Whip at the girl with the sound or that spiral quirk. And as that's firing at her, she's actually using the ice to try and keep a constant shield up, along with the fire Todoroki has to actually just make sure she can stop herself from freezing her body to death, or having herself get hypothermia. Now, she would be able to overwhelm her, because Black Whip, you can manipulate the whips. So while the ice is up, she'd probably have to divert 1 or 2 blasts away to actually stop Toga from either encasing her in ice, but she would get hit by the whips. Now, as that's happening, Deku's fighting against Tokoyami. That's not the right guy. Mirio and the food guy. I just know his name is Sun Eater. Or his hero name is Sun Eater. Now, after that, Deku and Mirio keeps fighting and Deku keeps trying to throw punches at him. But Deku can't really get to him, but anytime he does land a punch, he just keeps getting more angry and angry, to the point where he'd actually go back into his rage state. And he'd be fighting at 130 again, and just keep blasting or throwing around shockwaves. And since Mirio's body, it reacts to things that go through it, I wouldn't see a rock or anything like that, but he'd probably get dust in his eyes, because he does need to see. So he'd get dust in his eyes, and he'd have to try and not keep them solid, but he keeps trying to like wash them out. Well, he would try and get them out of his eyes, so he'd actually turn his hands back to being visible. And as he does that, Deku would be able to take advantage of it and actually just break the bones in his arms and take out the food guy. As Toga's dealing with that girl with, oh my god, I think I remember, I'm trying to remember her name. I think it's just pronouncing it that's weird. Anyways. But Deku would find Mirio's limit eventually with his quirk. And I want to say that they would probably fight to a standstill because Deku can't really hit him. But he would be able to take down at least one of the big 3 members. Along with Toga taking down another one. Well, he essentially had a standstill or a stalemate with 2 of the members at the same time. Anyways, the provisional license exam, people are actually somewhat curious to fight Deku. And Deku just keeps trying to... Deku and Toga would actually be flying... Well, not flying around. Deku and Toga are actually running around, and they just keep toying around with people, just going this way, that way, jumping around, and Deku's actually used a bit of a technique he saw back at the camp. he would put his hand down by his waist in between his legs and actually start using Black Whip. But he would move them to a point where he can actually just, well, not sit down on his hand, but actually somewhat create a chair underneath him to just start walking around, kind of like spider legs. So he would try doing that, and he finds this really difficult to use because it only gives him free use of one of his hands. But it's actually very, very creative and useful. So he'd be going around like that, and Toga's with him. So that actually makes it better with teamwork, and the fact that she can just copy his quirk, and anytime she needs to, she can just ask for more blood. Now, after this would happen, Deku and Toga would actually score points, and on the rescue part, they would do very well because she can just copy Deku's Black Whip to actually help him hold up parts of the building, along with anyone else's quirk, like the Uraka's to actually help move rubble and things like that. So she'd be working with a lot of different people to actually help them, and they would all get their hero licenses, including Bakugo and Todoroki. But Deku would have still probably beat the hell out of Gang Orca. Yeah, I forget about him a lot. My what ifs. Oh my god. Okay. Anyway, guys, I know that was a bit rushed. I'm sorry. But I don't want to have to. I always try and manage my series, but with the fact that I'm actually surprisingly popular to a lot of people, it's hard because I expected to get this one done and do my Spinel What If tomorrow or the next day. Not have to do with Judge Dredd so fast. Okay. Now, because of that, I'm going to be doing a little bit more research because I already had some other things planned out, like feats of strength, Deku's quirk, and about a lot of different world building. I also remember a bit about the Mega City, so I'm going to be including the different stuff like that. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will catch you guys later.